All right, welcome back to another episode of Poncha Talk. My name is Ellie, and in this podcast, we talk about all things related to remote work, the digital nomad lifestyle, living abroad, and how to follow your passion and dreams in life. And for this podcast episode today, I had a chat with Kate. She has been traveling the world for the last 5 or 6 years. She's a digital nomad, originally from Germany, and also has a podcast about the best nomad travel destinations. It's linked in the episode description, so don't forget to check that out. This is going to be the focus for today's episode, which is part 2 of my conversation with her. So if you missed the first part where we talk about her digital nomad journey, it's linked in the episode description, so go back and listen. And today we're going to focus on Kate's favorite travel destination, her experience from traveling the world the last couple of years, the last 5 or 6 years, and all of her favorite travel tips. So let's get to it. One thing we haven't talked about at all yet, though, is the podcast that you also do together with Anna. Hintern Horizont gibt's WLAN. It's a German podcast, but maybe some of my listeners are also German and find it useful. And I find it useful for sure, because I also listen to some episodes.
Nice.
So yeah, mostly you focus your episodes around the destinations themselves, right?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, in 5 years, you've covered pretty much all across the world.
Almost. Yeah, almost everything. Yeah, it's actually that's exactly where it was coming from, because we were thinking that's really what we always craved and needed, because also for you, I guess, yeah, it's a lot of work picking a new destination. I can really speak again out of experience, because being on the continent back here in Latin America now, for the first time, like really working from here. Usually I did a lot of Europe and a lot of Asia. Asia is always very convenient for digital nomads. And then the first time now in Brazil, Argentina, and Chile. And yeah, it always takes some time to. First off, there are things that you cannot know from back home from your research. It's really things that you need to experience or just know once you're here. But also in preparation for a destination, we often found there is not too much to find, or you always have to be a bit careful which sources do you trust or which opinions do you take, because of course in the end it's all very subjective, also our opinions. But we were thinking of, hey, we get asked so many questions from friends, either that just travel or also a lot of digital nomads. We are in a lot of communities, group chats, WhatsApp groups, and also our friends group is really big. So we constantly meet anywhere in the world and do occasions where we rent a house and all come together. Sometimes maybe we're just 4 or 5 people. Sometimes we're even 8 or 10 people. Last year, for example, we've been to Bosnia and to the Balkan, or we've been to Bali, to Portugal, a lot of cities in Spain and or Greece, Greek islands. So we've seen a lot. And every time we end up at the same questions, the things that we like to know. And then also a lot of people ask, and then it's okay, either you have created a PDF document, or you send your little pins on Google Maps, or you even start writing it all down in WhatsApp. And then we thought, and we exchanged so much knowledge about it, Anna, me, and voice messages. So then we thought, then we can also rather just directly record it, make something fun about it, and hopefully help other people, because that's the our most interest, I think, is just to help others maybe find their best destination or in the decision making process, or also for starters, we from our feedback we hear that we have a lot of people who are interested in that lifestyle, but maybe question a bit how to start or where to go to first. I know all that myself, been there, done that. It's like when you're I don't know, a solo traveling woman, oh god, where can I go to on my own? So yeah, Anna and me in Hintern Horizont gibt's WLAN. The idea is there is Wi-Fi out there in the world, and also you can widen and create a bit wider horizon. while traveling and working. So we try to cover a lot of destinations that we've been to. Mostly both of us, and sometimes also like we do it now in like an interview form, that just one person of us has been there, that we ask the other questions about it, and it's always a bit like the same scheme. We try to go through the most important categories and questions, like what's always on your mind, starting with when to go, entry requirements, what to organize upfront, and then a bit like how's the community organized there. Is there co-livings, co-workings, where to live, in which area, where to find the groups. And then it ends always, the second half is a bit more about leisure time, what you can do after work, on the weekend, and a bit generalized, like what we love to do there. And so it also covers actually for people who also just want to travel. I think they get good insights about the specific destination.
Lovely. Yeah, because there is a lot. Like, I mean, I also just learned by doing, basically, what to look out for. Where can I find nomad communities? Where can I find co-living? I mean, it has grown a lot in the last couple of years, but I remember when I first started, it was quite difficult to even find co-livings, because all those website and Instagram pages that they have now were just getting started. So there's a lot to know about where to go, how to know that the Wi-Fi is actually good, and they don't just tell you that.
Exactly. I also like we had the insight in one of the last episodes is, we have good Wi-Fi, or we are a co-living, and then you come there and it's actually not the case. Like, luckily that happens rarely, but of course that also exists.
Yeah, you can never be 100% sure, but you can do your research.
And I love to see the development also, because I remember back in the days, I was really happy if I would find something like a Facebook group. A lot of people ask, where did you find that apartment? Or how did you get to know this group who wanted to go surfing in Portugal? And it was really old school that I was going through all the Facebook groups. And these days, it's really, you have such well-organized WhatsApp channels where you have groups for everything. It's not just like, we are the digital nomads Lagos, but it's like then just for surfing, for hiking, for volleyball, like whatever you want, it's there. And of course, that's super nice.
Yeah, we have that here on Madeira too. I have like 50 WhatsApp groups. I feel like a bit too much almost, but I have most of them muted, but you have everything there. Yeah. So do you have for yourself like your favorite nomad destination where everything seemed to have been like just perfect for how you like it?
There's a few for sure. What I really like is if you want to have it easy and close, I really love the Canaries. It was also our first episode, because for us was so clear. It's Fuerteventura. That's where a bit it all started, where we always go back to. I've been there 4 or 5 times now to work from. And I have to say, it is really convenient. It is very nice because it brings together all the factors that you actually want. So I find if you want to play it safe and just want to know what you're going back to, and everything is perfectly organized, easy. It is still a long flight, though, of course, 4.5 hours more or less. But I got really cheap flights. Even I went there for New Year's, very spontaneously, the last New Year's, and then spent the January there. And still, I even got flights for, I think it was €80 from Köln, including luggage. So also still possible. Keep an eye out, but you can arrive like easily. The logistics is very good. And then I don't know if you've been to Fuerteventura, to Coralejo.
I haven't. I've done Tenerife and Gran Canaria, but not Fuerteventura.
It is a bit similar, but still the islands are still different in their nature and their vibe. I've also been to the other two, But I have to say, from the community and the easiness, I really loved Fuerte because it's very condensed. Most people go to Coralejo in the north, and there's really a bit like a digital nomad paradise because all you find is very young, cool people who all work remote and who want to hang out and who are very open. I find that the town is everything is walkable. You can, if you want, you don't even need a rental car. You take a bus, you go there. You're in the middle of that little town, which is on the beach. I love places where you can just walk around and reach everything by foot. Makes it so much more convenient. If you want, you can also have a longer walk, depending maybe on where your co-working is or your house or your yoga studio. You can walk along nice long beach walks and arrive there. And there's a lot going on. It's really a bit of place where you can, if you want, seek a lot of spirituality. They have a lot of yoga, breath work, meditation, because in the end, it is an island with a lot of volcanoes. So it has always this a bit mystical feeling, and it attracts a lot of hippies and spiritual people that live on the island, and also people who really expats who live there forever. But you also have the other side of the island, which is a bit the wild side with a lot of parties and raves, and you have a lot of bars. So it's a bit like whatever you want, you can find it. I think that's why I also like it. You can surf there, you can do really nice hikes, even though it is a very sandy and dry island. Still, the nature is very fascinating. It's a bit like a moon landscape with all the volcanoes and a lot of sand. But there are very pretty beaches, and it's still, I say, affordable. It's still like we're in Europe and in Spain, very close to Africa, though. That's why the weather is so perfect, and it's always very nice and warm. In January, I was laying on the beach. But it is still affordable, I'd say, compared to maybe other cities in Europe. And you would always find a co-living or a nice house to share. So for me, that would be always like an easy one to Puerto. I would always return to.
Nice. Yeah. I also, for myself, I found I like the smaller cities or smaller towns more than big cities. I mean, if I don't know, I did a co-living in Paris once, and that was not it. Like Paris was way too big for me. Or like other big cities, it's too overwhelming for me. I like it when it's smaller. You know, it's organized. People know their way around. You see the same people on the streets. It's kind of feels familiar much quicker than whether you're just one little person in a big city. So I would also recommend starting off with a smaller place to really get the
otherwise
feel.
it can be very anonymous. And then if you're maybe on your own, you have a lot, like you said, there's so many options and opportunities, but you can feel a bit lost in like making the decision where to start to. And a really good point, maybe you're not going to see the people ever again. And that's really what I love. In Coralejo, you go to the events, and at some point, 2-3 weeks later, you get to see the same people over and over again on the street. And it's always a nice feeling. You say, oh, hey, and how are you? And how was it yesterday? And I really like that. It's a bit of more of a community feel. I had the same feel. It's also a place that I always like to go back to and spend a lot of time is Ericeira in Portugal. It's very close to Lisbon, actually. It's, again, a surf destination. I don't know. I had to laugh at some point. I don't actually surf too much. And in the last years, not at all anymore. But I end up always in some destinations.
The surf
a lot of surf is offered. Maybe because often the vibe there is very laid back due to that. But Ericeira is also very, very beautiful. It's a small beach town. I would say in the end, it's 1 hour from Lisbon if you take a bus. And it's beautiful. The beaches are very, very pretty, and it has a incredibly nice community. It's even smaller than Coralejo. You have this old little town with cobblestones and very Portuguese, with a little square and the cafes with pastel de nata, and everyone is just walking around with a surfboard under the arm. Is there with a camper van also for long term. They have quite a high density of co-workings for such a small place. I think at least 4 or 5 all in the center.
Okay.
And it's also very nice community, and also good place to stay. And often what I did is that if I didn't go on longer trips like now that are really overseas, I stayed in Ericeira, mostly September, October to maybe November if possible, because that's always like the golden moment, I'd say. Like autumn there is beautiful. And then if it gets too cold, because in the end it's the Atlantic coast, you get crazy cheap flights from Lisbon to the Canaries, because it's not too far actually. I think I took an EasyJet flight for 20 euros from Lisbon to Fuerte, and then you can just continue and stay in Fuerte to as long as you like, maybe to May, even before it gets really crazy hot there.
Nice. Where do you find these cheap flights?
Usually I just really check the old classic Skyscanner or trip.com. I think maybe because it's really the closeness from Lisbon, same as you get probably very cheap flights to Madeira, I guess.
From Lisbon to Madeira, sometimes you can get, but overall, well, last year flying to Madeira has been pretty expensive, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know, especially over the summer, because it's gotten so popular as a summer destination, like tourist destination here in Madeira. So the flight prices last year were actually quite insane. I paid like 700-800 round trip from Germany, which was way too
Wow.
much. Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, I wasn't aware. And now I'm a bit ruined with the prices here, because in Argentina everything is so ridiculously expensive because of the hyperinflation. It's the worst in Argentinian economy as it's ever been, and it's been crazy always. So the prices here are just crazy and skyrocketing, and we had really difficulties to find a flight back to Europe with that. But I didn't know that it can also be the same in Europe as well. Wow.
Yeah. I didn't know Argentina had such a high inflation at the moment too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Do you like it as a destination though? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say we are very, very happy here in Buenos Aires. It is a beautiful city. It is absolutely not dangerous, because I wasn't sure, like you have all these stereotypes and opinions in your head. God, can you go there? Some would compare it with, I don't know, Rio or a different big city in Latin America. But I have to say, it really feels like being in a big Spanish city. Buenos Aires, a bit a mix of Spain, Italy, and France, also from the architecture. Feels very European. It's a huge city. There's 15 million people living here, but it is really picturesque. It is super tidy. We live in Palermo, the district. It's the hipster area, the modern hipster area. And there's a ton of co-workings here, one hipster cafe next to the other. It's almost like in Bali. These cafes are so hip that you think, oh, wow. And they all offer flat whites and whatnot, oat milk cappuccinos. Unfortunately, this is all very pricey right now. I have to say, it's really, if I get a cappuccino, it usually costs me €4.80 or so. I think that's probably even more than in Germany at the moment. But we also had friends who've been here to different times, like a year ago, and then it's the complete opposite. And then that was all very, very cheap. And I have to say, then you're living a very beautiful life here. We did so much. You can explore a lot. It's rich in history. It has beautiful and big parks, good museums, and it's so cool to really absorb the Argentinian culture here. There's the tango is coming from Argentina. They're crazy about football. It's really no joke. I wasn't aware, but Messi is here on every corner of the street. Messi and Maradona. We've been to football games here because they're very famous football teams and are known for the atmosphere. We tried the mate tea. this very weird
Yeah.
that they always drink out of the pot with the straw. And of course, not to forget the very good meat and red wine. That's really, really a different world, like next level. The Argentinian meat, I have to say, if you're not vegetarian, that's really a dream come true to eat meat here. And I have to say, it is a really recommendation. I'm for sure that we're going to do an episode also for Buenos Aires, because I can highly recommend. It's a beautiful city also to stay longer.
Okay, lovely. Sounds good.
Maybe
Yeah.
just be aware of the inflation
Once
and the
the
political.
inflation stops, yeah.
Yeah. Then for sure it's really worth it.
Nice.
And yeah, it was our first time here. Next week we're gonna go to Mendoza, which is the wine region here, and then followed by a little vacation because yeah, some, as we all know, for some destinations you also always, that's a bit my advice from all my experience, not always try to do everything while working. I tried that really for a long time, especially the last 2 years, and I always ended up with a lot of vacation days that I had to spend in the end, which is, I find in general, it's a good sign because that's what we also do this lifestyle for, of course, is a bit like bring more life in the work-life balance. So with a remote job and experiencing so much, I really don't feel so much like I'm working a lot anymore. It's somehow different than a 9-to-5 job at home, where you're a bit caught up in a system. But in the end, then I didn't take holidays. And for example, last winter in December, I had 15 holiday days left and just had to take them randomly. And I realized, true, sometimes you should also actually enjoy some of the more remote spots in a country and just take a week off or two and say, I also gonna enjoy it here. That's what we did in the start. To get to this trip, we did Patagonia, which you could never ever work from because there is no reception in internet. And now at the end of our trip, we're going to go to the Atacama Desert, which is the driest place on earth and a desert. So we're also not going to work from there.
Nice. Yeah, that's true. I never did that enough, like combining vacations with work, I think. Because I remember I went to South Africa for vacation only, and I never ended up doing like the safari that everybody goes. I pretty much only stayed in Cape Town because I was working. But I should have just taken a few days off to do a safari. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, right. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Well, like, so in the, oh yeah, I can work from here, I can work from there, but don't always have to work. Yeah. Nevertheless, it was really nice. Yeah.
For me, it's easy to say because that's in the end the big benefit. I'm like employed, so I have my holiday days. I know that a lot of people don't do that because as a digital nomad, they're freelancing or self-employed, and of course they try to maybe take as little holidays as possible. But especially for someone like me who has the days, it's funny after all these years, and you think you're so experienced and such a good traveler, there's always things where you realize, I can maybe change that or do that a bit better. And I really had that realization last year. Yeah, you should also take your holidays while you're traveling and working because that's the best chance to see something.
So now when you're settling down in the Netherlands, do you still have new destinations where you want to go, or do you see yourself more returning to your favorites?
For sure, I have a big list of destinations that I still want to go to.
Okay.
I think probably I will always have that, and hopefully. And it's a bit funny, like a bit more personal insight is that I'm 38, and I always feel a bit like more the granny amongst all these people doing it. I think I started a bit later because I encounter a lot of people always that are now in their 20s or late 20s, realizing, oh, wow, they have so many years still to explore and do, and so good for them that they started early. I don't feel like my age at all, or it's in the end a number, of course. But I realize, of course, there are things like at some point family, kids, and these are then very new, interesting topics, because how's it going to be then? We have also friends who just did that recently. They also have a podcast, Sascha and Laura Lee. They have a podcast, Grenzenlos. They speak about that. They are also full-time traveling. They're completely not living in Germany anymore. And they had a baby recently. Their son was born in Tenerife. And they're going to travel also with a baby now. So everything is possible.
Wow.
And it feels a bit like then you're back at the spot where I was when I was 30. There's something new now. Big decisions maybe have to be made. You need to be brave again, because that's going to be the next chapter where people say, what? How can you? And with a kid, and it needs to be here, and it needs to grow up like this, or in a school. And all I wanted to say is that, of course, these are things that I'm very much looking forward to, or we as a couple. And of course, that's the shady thing with the biological time, or the ticking. Like, of course, at some point, I have to make a decision, at least to become a mom, and then see how we travel. And I think that's why I'm also still so keen on seeing so much in the world. But it's actually also sometimes I'm thinking, it's the next thing that we just pressure us about, because in the end, who says that just because you're having a family, you cannot live this lifestyle anymore? It's people like us then who have to prove it again and start new, and be a role model, actually, for maybe and hopefully others to follow. But I still want to see a lot. And I have to say, for us, it's a bit the mix, I think. I love to come back to places that I've been to, because sometimes just what you need, it's easy, you know yourself around, you maybe like that one specific bakery and restaurant, and you go there, and then mix it up with new destinations. For example, in Asia, I would really love to go to the Philippines. I've seen a lot of places in Asia, and it's always super nice to travel and work from there, like Bali, Thailand, Vietnam. But Philippines, we haven't been, also due to the internet, because a lot of people warned us. But I think I'm curious to check it out, if it would work.
Oh, you could take your holiday there then. If the internet is good enough to work. Yes. Don't forget your holidays. Okay, well, lovely. Thank you so much for all of your story and insights, and wish you all the best.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, all the best for the future. I'll follow your story to see how it ends up with the
the same
renovation and the future plans,
exactly,
wherever it may
a
lead
bit of
you.
everything.
Yeah.
Really lovely to meet you, and good luck with the podcast. I'm going to listen to more episodes now, because luckily to this network and the connections, I find the stories very interesting. And best of luck for what you do in Madeira. Sounds very cool.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I will link your podcast information in this episode as well. And
yes, that would be nice for anyone who speaks German and is interested. Follow us.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Bye.